Yes, YouTube. So this episode is on how I closed £50,000 last week without pitching to someone, without forcing a close on a call, without battering and bullying them on the pain points, without doing all the crazy level stuff that you'll see people do. And this is also not how I teach sales closing, which I'll talk about how I teach that in this video as well. But it's specifically on how I closed £50,000 last week without chasing, begging, or doing anything. And it's going to be a pretty cool video. But also, we're at the end of an era. See this bare empty office. So I've had this for 4 or 5 years now, but the lease is coming up and I've not found a new house yet. So that's going to be a little project that I'll be updating people on as I'm going through. So I'm actually going to be moving into a little cell office soon, which is not ideal in any way, shape or form, but I'll just still get the work done and crack on with it all of the same. I've also had a really productive day as well. So Mission 100 with the Walk and Talk non-profit organization. I am organizing an army. As anyone watched Lord of the Rings, Riders of Rohan, the scene where they come onto the hill and they basically have this talk and it's like, death. I've sent that video to a few connections and partnerships and saying, this is what I want to pull off in summer for men's mental health. Are you on board with it? And everyone's like, yeah. So I've planned out next level creatives and different structures for that. So that's been pretty cool. On top of that, I have actually launched a new business today as well with my best friend, Rob, as a little bit of a side hustle kind of thing that we're doing, which is going to be pretty cool. And I've also built out a new Unreal thing. So it's basically like an assessment, what's going to assess your personal brand and how much you've adopted to AI. So I'll be hyperlinking that underneath YouTube videos. But anyway, that's my life update. Let's get back to how I actually closed £50,000 in sales last week without even pretty much pitching in any way, shape or form. So with my program, we have 3 different programs available, right? We have the Smart Scaling program, which is the group, which has got events, my one-to-one support. It has loads of different stuff in it. So like 18 courses, 2 group calls a week, monthly events, monthly socials, end of month reporting, me on WhatsApp, me on school. So there's loads of stuff there. Then we've got the Propel program, which is our one-to-one team-based stuff. And then Ben Mahmood will basically take calls for them, who's my best friend. I've known him since I was 3 years old, and he doesn't batter people on sales calls in any way, shape or form. And people who have sales calls with us and discovery calls, we like to call them, always say the same. But when a company comes to me and they qualify for the Titans, I always approach the call in a different format. The rationale for that is the qualification and expectations is more important to me than the sale. So who the person is, what their business is and what the problem is, and my confidence and my ability to actually solve that problem for them is more important than me just trying to close anyone on the call, right? And then just take the money for the sake of it, right? Obviously, then the reason for that is it's a very personal service one-to-one with me. I'm not interested in trying to sell to everyone, and I want to make sure that they know and I know I can actually help them. So that's the reason why I run the call format that I'm going to talk you through in a second. When it comes to teaching sales, I give people an exact dynamic sales script that they can run and follow and use AI to put it into their own language around their niche target and around their pain and around their offer. And I also give people the exact structure to use on a pitch deck for the last 5% of the call. So in terms of how I teach sales, it's very different to what I'm going to talk to you about in this video and how I close those sales using AI and my own intuition as well. Right. So when you are doing a sales call normally yourself, the main thing that you need to know, and the only thing that you need to know, is that you are isolating the gap. Right. So, and also this is still the same process when I'm going to talk you through how I closed that 50K in a second. So all you need to remember is the gap. And when it comes to sales, that is it, right? You've got someone's current situation to their desired situation. You've then got a moat in the middle here, which is a big pool of red lava. That's the pool of pain. And then your offer and your program is the bridge to get someone from their desired situation to their future situation. So when you are running a sales call, people are taught some absolutely like next level crazy tactics. Whereas for me, sales is quite simple. Sales is about diagnosing someone's problem. So as part of diagnosing someone's problem, you will find out their current situation. So that's their current pain, what they're doing, why they're on the call in the first place, right? And you isolate and pinpoint that exactly. From that point, you then discuss and digest what their actual goals are, right? And what that means to them and what type of impact it will have on their life. And the bigger that you can make that gap, right, and the more that you can get someone sitting in that pool of pain, the less likely that person is to understand that they can get from that current situation to their desired situation. And you don't need to batter someone on the pain points with this. You just simply diagnose. You ask questions, and you can do this indirectly, and people just do it to themselves. So what you've got to take into account when it comes to sales, people need multiple different things to actually purchase, right? Number one is pain. So if someone is not under pain, right, then they are not going to take action. They then need to have urgency and pressure. And that's where you've got things like an incentive pricing model versus normal. So an incentive pricing model is where you pitch the price of today. And if they don't make the decision within that day, then the prices will go up. So there's loads of different like tactics and loads of different skills that you can basically use from your sales process. And that is how I teach sales for anyone who's doing high ticket info course type structure, not info course, high ticket coaching services or mentoring or anything that requires sales over a phone call or Google Meet or Zoom. When it comes to a passive product, that's very different, but you still create the exact same type of process. The pool of pain to their current situation, to their desired situation, the program and the product is the gap in the middle. So when I come to doing my own sales calls, I've always done, I went away from it for a little bit, but I've only just started my one-to-one again in the last 12 months after rebuilding everything around AI for smart scaling, obviously launching my book, and then I've kind of got back into it in the last 6 months and I'm absolutely loving it. And I knew that it wasn't going to take long to obviously kind of come through. So when it comes to closing £50,000 in a week, the first thing that I want to make clear is expectation management. Right. From an expectation management perspective, I'm obviously the founder and owner of the company. I've got 12 years experience. I've got hundreds of different client results, and I've obviously built a reputation in this space. So my ability to close at big figures, and it's not 50 grand for a single person, multiple people. Right? I'm not charging 50 grand for a program. But I've obviously got authority within this space. So I want to make that clear, because it's sometimes people think, oh, I can suddenly go and do that. Right. All I did to close £50,000 last week was this. Right. I sent someone an overview discovery document, which has a detailed information from an overview perspective of their business. I then sent them a deep discovery document in which they completed. I've then got a GPT, which is trained to basically extract the core 10 problems of that person's business and life, put it into a priority order, and then flip the perspective of that problem into how it's an opportunity if they solve it, right? That's all I've done. So what I did from there is when I sent them the documents, I then get onto a call with them. I then processed all of that type of structure, discussed it. I then followed up with them afterwards, which had the step-by-step 10 problems and opportunities, what they need to focus on in the business, the North Star metrics that I think that they need to focus on in order to basically earn a lot more and improve the quality of life and business in general. And then from that point, even I've got another GPT, which will process the transcript of the call and also the 10 problems and opportunities into an easy step-by-step to-do list. So in terms of my manual workload for that, I have not done anything manual with it other than obviously trained and set up my AI to be able to do that for me. So this is when I started thinking about, because I used to do this, I swear to God, I used to do this manually. So I used to take calls with people and do a full write-up of every single thing. Whereas now I've got AI, which can process all their answers, process all the different structures. I can then give them all of this information and then do a customized write-up alongside the customized step-by-step to-do list, right? 80% of the people I did a call with last week, all immediately, as soon as they saw those core 10 problems in order with the opportunities in the to-do list, all turned around and said that they wanted to sign up on the call. And I turned around and said, no. You might think, why? Because it goes back to that first principle that the expectation and who I work with is more important than money collected. So if that person wasn't the right person, or I didn't pitch the right solution, I was willing to lose all of that money, because that's more important to me for my one-to-one, for where I am in my career. The same as with Ben and the other programs. If someone doesn't match the solutions to what we provide, then we simply don't sell to someone. If we can sell clear solutions and improvement, right, we're going to do it. But for example, I closed that money without even trying, just by actually caring. That is it. I cared about that person. I listened to every single problem that they've got. I did a little bit of research with obviously getting information and discovery documents. I processed that into an easy structure, but it goes back to that same principle, what we spoke about at the start of the call, where someone will look at that current situation to their desired situation. But in my case there, they just look at that and think, oh my God, I can't do that myself. But it makes so much sense. And that's how I close sales. I've never in my career at any point ever had to bully or batter someone into their pain points just to get a sale through the door. And I also don't teach the fact that you need to do that either. I truly believe that if you follow this dynamic sales script that I've got, you will naturally create that current situation, desired situation, pool of pain, and making sure you've isolated that gap just by following a script which is focusing on diagnosis. I know some people who have been given sales pitch decks where they are bullying someone on a general pain point which doesn't even make sense in any way, shape, or form. I'm like, the reason that someone purchases is because of the pain that that individual person is under. So that might be the fact that they've got a vision but they're not achieving it. It might be because there's a gap in the business that they're struggling with. It might be it might be because of something to do with a partner or a family member or whatever it may be, but it's always hyper specific. Whereas what I'm seeing in the market at the moment is people have been given like literally copy and pasted template sales scripts to close to every single person and wondering why they're not taking big payments through the door or getting people over the line. And it's because it's not customized to that person. Sales is so fucking easy when you literally go into the problem by actually listening to that person, actually caring about what they are saying, right? Go into the effort, what potential other people won't go to. I know full well there is nobody out there what gives as much value that I do for free, even before taking a bit of money. I know that hands down, right? And then from that point, it just comes down to making sure that you're confident with what you're pitching and what you're presenting. Like, people lose themselves in sales and you don't need to in any way, shape, or form. Like you've just heard and seen, I closed 50 grand without pitching, without going high level, without anything. And I even, with some of them, I even said, do you want to pay monthly or payment in full? It's your choice because I care about your bank account. Genuinely, like, that's how I close sales, just by showing that I care, right? But that's me. When it comes to you, you're probably going to need to have a bit of structure. You're going to need like a dynamic sales script. You're going to need to have like an easy pitch deck, or you're going to need to have a process that you obviously go through. But I genuinely, completely and utterly stand behind this. If you go into a sales call from a diagnostic perspective, where you focus on finding out as much information about that person as possible, listening to them, using obvious skills like acknowledging when they've said something and being silent when they are speaking, and focusing on that question, and really showing interest that you get little tiny like tips. Like, so if I'm on a sales call and someone's talking about something which I know means a lot to them, I'll lean in. Right, I'll lean in and I'll hear it. Or when they're like, it's more creative, I'll sit back and I'll look and I'll go, your mannerisms are so important, and you'll pick this up over time. But don't go into a sales call with a copy and pasted template process and wondering why you get the same result every single time. Make it customizable to that person. You've just heard an example of me doing it at seriously high level with a lot of experience, obviously, and using AI to support that process. But you might look at it in a different way. Just because someone doesn't close on a call doesn't mean that you can't close them with the follow-up. All of those calls that I did and all of those sales that I generated were all closed on a follow-up, right? There was not a doubt in my mind. I actually had one call what didn't close, and that's because I said I don't think it's the right fit. But I'm willing to try, and if this improves, but I'm not going to put any type of contracting commitment or anything that type behind it. And I said, I'd rather you go away and get yourself into this position, then come back, because I think you'll be more ready for what I can do with it then. And that person will probably come back around down the line. Like, just go into a sales process like being an actual real person. I actually wanting to help someone, being passionate about their goals, right? And I think that is the first thing and hurdle that you need to overcome. And then sales is not a problematic process from that point. So like I said, how I close sales and how I've just explained is not how I teach in any way, shape, or form. And even how I teach isn't one-dimensional. People have apps, people have group products, people have lower ticket or higher ticket or mid ticket. Like, your sales process needs to be customized to you as a person and how you are actually delivering, and also what your unique strengths are and USPs to your offer and you as a person as well. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this YouTube on sales and closing money and just not being a twat. I'll see you on the next episode. I'm not sure when I'm moving out of this office. I've got loads of good shit going off at the moment. Walk and talk. Like, I can't wait to show what I'm planning for summer on that side, and then loads of other areas as well. And I've got loads of events with a coach consultant. So yeah, life is good. And it's my daughter's birthday today, Remy, as well, which I did spend an hour with this morning. I had a really busy day, and it was one of them ones where I wanted to spend time with in the day, but also if I moved my workload that I had today to another day, it'd mean I'd probably have to do a bit of work at a weekend, and I'd rather spend time with it at a weekend. So sometimes you've just got to take it. People are going, oh, why don't you have a freedom business? I've got a freedom business. I've got a freedom business, but I'm on a mission. I work because I love it. I work because like, what else am I going to do? Just sit around thinking about, oh, well, I've got loads of free time. I'm going to do all my hobbies. Like, I do all my hobbies. I climb some mad level mountains. I go out every single weekend. Like, I've got good balance. So I like to just graft. And if that means missing a day when I can spend an evening and a weekend with my daughter and my wife, then that's absolutely fine, because it's that graft what gets the reward down the line. So anyway, I'm rambling on. See you on next episode.